The moment my husband whispered, "Turn the car around," I didn't ask why. Minutes later, the secret hidden in our trunk proved that someone close had planned our downfall all along. But before I reveal how one red duffel bag destroyed everything I thought I knew about family, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from right now? I love seeing our community grow worldwide. And if you're new here, don't you forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss these gripping real-life stories. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The morning has started off just like any other road trip. The kids were restless, the car smelled faintly of coffee and crackers, and the GPS voice kept chiming in with directions I already knew by heart. We were heading for a simple family reunion in Canada, nothing more, nothing less. Or so I thought. I was behind the wheel, always was. Daniel, my husband, never liked long drives. He claimed it was because he got too distracted by scenery, but I knew the truth. He just hated the pressure of keeping everyone safe in the car, so I drove, and he kept me company in the passenger seat. Our 3 kids were squashed in the back, headphones on, screens glowing. Lucy, the oldest at 10, pretended to be in her own world, nose deep in her comic book. Ben, 7, kept elbowing Noah, 5, each convinced the other had crossed some imaginary boundary line on the seat. To anyone else, it was the usual family chaos. To me, it was the sound of normalcy. That's why when Daniel leaned slightly toward me, his voice low and urgent, it froze me in place. "Turn the car around," I blinked. For a moment, I thought he was joking, but the way his jaw tightened told me otherwise. "What?" I asked, my voice just above a whisper. "Anna," he said firmly, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. "Turn the car around. Now." I felt my grip on the steering wheel tighten. Daniel wasn't dramatic. He wasn't the type to make sudden decisions. If he said this, it meant something. "Why?" "Please, Anna. Don't ask. Just do it." The weight in his voice made the decision for me. Without a word, I flicked on the blinker and veered toward the next exit, just minutes before the Canadian border. The highway curved away behind us, and a strange silence filled the car. The kids didn't notice. Lucy rolled her eyes at her brothers. Noah started singing to his cartoon. Ben kicked the seat. But Daniel's knuckles were white where they rested on his knees. Finally, I asked again, quieter this time, "What's going on?" He shook his head. "Not yet. Just keep driving." My stomach twisted. I didn't like not knowing. Daniel had always been calm, steady, my anchor. For him to look this way, it scared me more than any answer could. Lucy leaned forward between the seats. "Mom, why are we going back?" "We forgot something," I lied automatically. "What?" She pressed. I forced a smile. "I'll tell you later." The truth was, I didn't know what we'd forgotten, only that it wasn't something we wanted to find. We drove in silence for another 20 minutes, the world outside blurring by. Every mile away from the border felt heavier, like chains wrapping tighter around us. Then Daniel finally spoke. "Take the next turnoff." It was a narrow gravel road, almost hidden between overgrown trees. I followed his instruction, the car bumping slightly as we left the pavement. "Here," he said quietly. "Stop." I pulled over, gravel crunching beneath the tires. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Daniel unbuckled his seatbelt. "Stay here with the kids." "What?" "Daniel, please." He cut me off, his voice sharp but not cruel. "Just stay here. I'll be right back." He got out before I could argue. I watched him through the rearview mirror as he walked to the back, opened the trunk, and began shifting bags around. I couldn't see much, only the faint movement of his shoulders, the way his hands dug through our luggage. Fear coiled in my chest. What was he looking for? What did he already know that I didn't? Then he came to my window, his face pale but determined. "Anna, come out here." My throat went dry. "Why?" "I need you to see this." Everything in me wanted to say no, to stay safe inside the car with my kids. But something in his tone told me this wasn't a choice. I slid out of the driver's seat, my legs trembling as I followed him to the trunk. He lifted the lid, and there it was. A red duffel bag, large, unfamiliar. Daniel crouched and unzipped it slowly. Inside were dozens of vacuum-sealed packets, neatly stacked, hidden between clothes and blankets, as though someone had packed them carefully, deliberately. For a moment, I couldn't even process what I was seeing. My mind scrambled for explanation supplies, donations, anything that made sense. But deep down, I knew. They put that in our car, I whispered, my voice shaking. Daniel nodded grimly. With the kids in the back seat, I felt sick. My knees nearly gave out. How did you know? His jaw tightened. The way your parents insisted on giving us that bag, the way they smiled like we wouldn't dare question it. I covered my mouth with my hand. Betrayal burned through me like fire. My own parents? Daniel zipped the bag shut with a snap. The sound echoed in my chest like a gunshot. We stood there in silence, the wind rustling through the trees, the faint noise of cartoons drifting from the car. Everything looked the same, but nothing was the same. I climbed back into the driver's seat numb, my hands trembling as I gripped the wheel. Daniel slid in beside me, his expression unreadable. I started the engine. I didn't know where we were going, only that we couldn't go back. My phone buzzed in the queue folder. Mom. Then Dad. Again. And again. Neither of us answered. And that was the moment I realized we weren't just driving away from the border. We were driving away from the life we thought we knew. The phone buzzed nonstop in the queue folder, lighting up with my parents' names over and over again. Every vibration made my stomach twist tighter until I finally shoved the phone face down, as though hiding it could make the problem go away. Daniel sat beside me in silence. He didn't tell me to answer. He didn't have to. We both knew the truth that whatever my parents wanted to say, it wouldn't be about love or safety. It would be about control. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, the road stretching out in a blur of gray and green. For years, I had trusted my parents blindly. They were strict, sometimes overbearing, but they had raised me to believe they knew best. Now, the weight of their betrayal pressed on my chest until it was hard to breathe. Finally, I whispered, "When did you know?" Daniel's eyes stayed on the road ahead. Last night. When they handed me that bag, I turned to him sharply. Last night? Why didn't you say anything? He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Because I wasn't sure. And I didn't want to scare you. But when I lifted it, Anna, it was too heavy, too deliberate. And your mom wouldn't let me put it down without saying, "Keep it safe." I swallowed hard. The words felt like poison now. Keep it safe. Safe for who? Not us. Certainly not the kids. They used us, I murmured. My voice broke on the words. They used their own daughter as cover. Daniel reached over, resting his hand gently on mine. His calmness was the only thing keeping me from unraveling completely. The kids were still oblivious in the back, wrapped in cartoons and sibling squabbles. Lucy occasionally peeked up, sensing something was off, but she didn't ask. She was too old not to notice, too young to understand. My parents' number flashed again on the phone. I let it ring out, but Daniel finally picked it up, his jaw tightening. "Don't," I whispered, but he pressed the green button anyway and put it on speaker. "Where are you?" My mother's voice crackled through the car, sharp and demanding. "No hello, no are you okay, just in order." Daniel didn't answer. "Anna?" My father's voice now, low and heavy. "Why did you turn around?" "You were almost there." My grip on the steering wheel turned my knuckles white. "Why, Dad? Why would you put something in our car?" "With the kids in the back seat?" There was silence for a moment. Then my father spoke calmly, like he was explaining a simple truth. "Because you wouldn't be stopped. A family with children raises no suspicion." I felt like the air had been punched from my lungs. Daniel's voice was steel. You tried to turn us into smugglers, without telling us. Without giving us a choice. It's not what you think, my mother cut in quickly. It's medicine that... Oh, nothing dangerous. You're doing this for family. I laughed bitterly. Medicine doesn't come in vacuum-sealed packets, Mom. Don't lie to me. There was a pause. Then my father's voice again, harder this time. Anna, bring the bag. Don't make this worse. Daniel ended the call without a word and tossed the phone into the back seat. The kids jumped, startled, but said nothing. For a few minutes, the only sound was the hum of the engine. Finally, Daniel said, They won't stop calling. And they won't stop looking. The thought made my stomach churn. My parents had always been controlling, but this was something darker. They hadn't just used us. They'd endangered their grandchildren for whatever deal they were part of. I thought back to last night. The way my mother had hugged me too tightly, whispering, This bag is important, don't lose it. The way my father had avoided my eyes. I had chalked it up to their usual dramatics. I had been wrong. How long? I asked quietly. How long do you think they've been planning this? Daniel shook his head. Does it matter? What matters is what we do now. I pulled the car into a rest stop, my hands trembling as I parked. The kids immediately perked up, asking for snacks, stretching their legs, completely unaware of the storm brewing around them. Daniel and I stood a few feet away from the car, our voices low. We have two options, he said firmly. We either go to the police and hand over the bag, or we disappear and hope your parents don't track us down. The thought of disappearing sent ice through my veins. Daniel, they're my parents. If we go to the police, they'll be arrested. And if we don't? His voice cracked slightly, the first sign of his own fear breaking through. Anna, they put our kids in danger. What happens if we get stopped at the border with that bag? Do you want Lucy to watch her parents dragged away in handcuffs? Tears stung my eyes. No, I didn't. I wanted my children safe. I wanted them to grow up free of this poison. But I couldn't shake the image of my parents in prison, the shame it would bring, the way it would shatter every last piece of family I had left. I don't know what to do, I whispered. Daniel looked at me then, his gaze steady. Then let me decide. Please. For the first time in years, I let go. Back at the car, Lucy watched us with furrowed brows. Mom? Dad? What's going on? I forced a smile. Just a change of plans, sweetheart. But inside I knew this was more than a change of plans. It was the unraveling of everything I thought was true. We drove again, this time with no destination in mind. The road stretched endlessly, and with every mile, the distance between me and my parents grew wider. My phone buzzed one last time, a text flashing across the screen before I turned it off completely. If you don't bring the bag back, you'll regret it. I stared at the words, my blood running cold. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. It was a threat. I slid the phone into the glove box and shut it firmly. Daniel glanced at me. What did it say? Nothing, I whispered. It doesn't matter. But it did. It mattered more than anything. Because in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about smuggling. This was about control, about power. And my parents had just declared war on the family I had built. The farther we drove, the heavier the silence became. The kids were dozing now, lulled by the rhythm of the car and their cartoons. For them, the world was still normal. For us, it had tilted off its axis. Daniel kept scanning the mirrors, his eyes sharp, his jaw set. I noticed it too, a black SUV that had been behind us since the rest stop. Not too close, not aggressive, but constant. Always there. Do you see it? I whispered, not wanting to wake the kids. He nodded once. They're not trying to pass. My stomach twisted. Do you think? Yes. He cut me off, his voice firm. It's them. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, forcing myself to breathe evenly. My parents, my own blood. They weren't just threatening us over the phone now, they were sending people after us. For a while, I kept to the speed limit, hoping I was wrong. Hoping the SUV would turn off, disappear. But it didn't. Mile after mile, it stayed with us, a shadow we couldn't shake. Finally, Daniel said, "Take the next exit." It was a sharp turn off the highway onto a winding rural road, the kind lined with old barns and endless fields. I took it, my heart hammering in my chest. The SUV followed. "They're not even hiding it anymore," Daniel muttered. "What do we do?" My voice cracked. "Keep driving." "Don't panic." The panic was already clawing its way up my throat. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to protect my children. But where? How? The road narrowed, the trees pressing in on both sides. The SUV stayed behind us, steady, patient, like a predator waiting for the right moment. Daniel's hand brushed mine. "Anna, listen to me. They won't risk hurting us. Not with the kids in the car. They just want the bag back. Then let's give it to them," I snapped, tears stinging my eyes. "Let's throw it out the window and be done with it." He shook his head. "If we do that, we'll never be safe. They'll know we're willing to play their game. And they'll come back for more." The thought made me sick. He was right. Giving in wouldn't save us, it would only bind us tighter to their control. Behind us, the SUV closed the distance slightly. Just enough to make the message clear: we're here, we're watching. The kids stirred. Lucy blinked sleepily, noticing the tension in the car. "Mom, why are we going so fast?" I forced a smile. "Just trying to get us there quicker, sweetheart." She frowned but didn't push. She was too smart not to sense the truth, but too young to carry it. Another 10 minutes passed like hours. My hands ached from gripping the wheel. My eyes flicked constantly between the road ahead and the mirror. Then Daniel pointed. "Turn here." It was a dirt road, barely wide enough for one car. I swerved onto it, the tires kicking up clouds of dust. The SUV followed. "Damn it," Daniel muttered under his breath. The dirt road twisted through thick woods, branches scraping against the sides of the car. The SUV stayed right behind us, its headlights cutting through the dust. Finally, the road split a fork with no signs. I looked at Daniel desperately. "Left," he said without hesitation. I turned hard, the car bouncing violently over potholes. The kids yelped in the back, startled awake. The SUV hesitated for a moment at the fork, then took the other path. I exhaled shakily, relief flooding me. "We lost them." "Not for long," Daniel warned. "They'll double back." We drove until the road opened into a clearing near an old, abandoned farmhouse. I pulled over, my hands trembling so badly I could barely keep the car steady. Daniel turned to me. "Stay with the kids." "I'll check." "No," I said firmly, my voice breaking. "Don't leave me." "Not now." He hesitated, then nodded. The kids were wide awake now, their eyes wide with fear. Lucy clutched Ben's hand, trying to comfort him, even though she was shaking herself. "Mom," she whispered, "what's happening?" I wanted to tell her the truth. I wanted to warn her about the dangers even family could bring. But I couldn't burden her with that, not yet. "We're just taking a different way, that's all," I said softly, brushing her hair back. "It's going to be okay." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. We sat there for what felt like forever, the silence pressing in around us. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of the old farmhouse made my heart jump. Finally, Daniel leaned closer. "We can't keep running. We need to make a choice." "What kind of choice?" He looked at me, his eyes heavy with determination. "Police, or disappear." The words hung between us, heavy and final. Before I could answer, the distant rumble of an engine cut through the air. My blood ran cold. The SUV. It was back. Daniel's hand found mine, gripping tightly. "Anna, whatever happens, we protect the kids first. Always." The headlights appeared through the trees, slow and deliberate. The SUV rolled into the clearing, blocking the only way out. For a moment, everything was still. The kids huddled close in the back, wide-eyed and silent. Then the driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, his face shadowed by the glare of his own headlights. He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He just stood there, staring at us, waiting. Daniel whispered, "They want the bag." My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear him. I looked at the trunk, at the red duffel inside. It felt like a ticking bomb, one that could decide our fate with a single choice. I swallowed hard. What do we do? Daniel's eyes locked on the man outside. We stall. And we pray. The clearing was bathed in harsh light, the SUV's headlights burning into our windshield like interrogators' lamps. The man outside didn't move, didn't speak. He simply stood there with the stillness of someone who had all the power and all the time in the world. Daniel leaned close, his voice low. "Stay calm, don't show fear," as if that were possible. My hands were shaking so badly that Lucy reached forward from the back seat and clutched my arm. "Mommy?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's okay," I whispered back, though the lie felt like shards of glass in my throat. The man finally took a step forward. The crunch of gravel under his boots sounded impossibly loud. He raised one hand slowly, not a weapon, just a signal. "Pop the trunk," he called out, his voice calm, almost polite. "We both know what's in there." Daniel's jaw clenched. He didn't move. The man stopped a few feet from the hood, his expression unreadable in the glare. "Look, I don't want trouble. I just want the bag. Hand it over and you walk away with your pretty family intact." The words hit me like a punch. Pretty family. He said it like we were pawns in a game, disposable pieces. Daniel opened his door slowly, stepping out into the light. "Who sent you?" he demanded. The man chuckled. "Who do you think? Your in-laws are very protective of their interests." His eyes flicked to me, sharp and knowing. "Parents are supposed to keep their children safe, aren't they?" Guess yours had other plans. My stomach dropped. Hearing it spoken aloud, hearing confirmation that my own parents had orchestrated this, was worse than I imagined. Daniel stood tall, though I could see the tension in his shoulders. "We're not handing it over." The man's smile faded. "Bad choice." Behind me, the kids whimpered. I wanted to cover their ears, shield them from every ugly word, every ugly truth. But there was no way to protect them from this. Before the man could step closer, Daniel raised his voice. "You touch my family and you'll regret it. We're not afraid of you." The night swallowed us whole after the SUV disappeared, but I knew it was temporary. My parents wouldn't accept defiance. They would send more men, maybe come themselves. Daniel was right. We were out of time. We piled back into the car. The kids, sensing the urgency, stayed quiet, their small faces pale with fear. I drove without knowing where, only that we had to keep moving. Every mile felt like stolen time. Daniel broke the silence. "We can't keep running blind. We need allies." I glanced at him. "Police?" He hesitated. "What if they're compromised?" "If your parents are this connected, money talks. We could hand ourselves over without realizing it." The thought chilled me. But he was right, trusting the wrong person could end everything. "Then who?" I asked. He looked at me with steady eyes. "Someone who wants them exposed." "The law may be dirty, but the press loves a scandal." I frowned. "You mean go public?" "Yes. If we hold the evidence long enough and make it loud enough, they can't bury it. Not without burning themselves in the process." We drove through the night until the first light of dawn streaked the horizon. Finally, in a small town far from the highway, we found a roadside motel. Inside the dim, dusty room, we collapsed. The kids curled up on the bed, exhaustion overtaking fear. Daniel sat by the window, watchful. I sat at the desk with a red duffel. My fingers trembled as I unzipped it. For hours I had avoided it, as though keeping it closed could keep the truth contained, but I couldn't run from it anymore. Inside, wrapped in layers of cloth, were documents. Stacks of them, contracts, offshore banking records, property deeds. At first glance, it was financial jargon. But Daniel leaned over my shoulder, his eyes widening. "This isn't just money," he whispered. "This is laundering. Illegal transfers, fake accounts, bribes. My parents weren't just wealthy. They were criminals." I sank back in my chair, the weight of it crushing me. My entire childhood, every luxury, every so-called gift, it had been built on this. Daniel met my eyes. "This is what we use. This is how we fight." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. My stomach twisted as I answered. "Hello?" "Anna," my father's voice. Calm, commanding, dripping with disappointment. "You've caused quite a mess." My throat tightened. "You used us. You put your own grandchildren in danger." He sighed, as though speaking to a foolish child. "Don't be dramatic. You're helping us. Now listen carefully. Bring the bat back. Quietly. No one gets hurt." Something in me snapped. For years I had sought his approval, his love. Now I heard the truth. There was none. Only control. "No," I said, my voice steady. "It's over. I'm done being your pawn." A pause. Then his tone hardened. "Think carefully, Anna. Families protect each other. If you betray us, you're no daughter of mine." The words cut deep, but they also set me free. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but for the first time I felt strong. Daniel squeezed my shoulder. "I'm proud of you. We knew what we had to do." By midday, we were on the road again, headed toward the city. Daniel had reached out to a journalist he trusted, someone who had once investigated corruption at high levels. They agreed to meet. But my parents weren't giving up. Halfway there, 2 black cars appeared in our mirrors. Not just one, now 2. They flanked us, closing in. Daniel's voice was calm but urgent. "Hold steady. Don't stop unless you have to." The cars inched closer, one swerving as though to push us off the road. The kids screamed as I fought the wheel, heart pounding. Then, like a miracle, sirens wailed behind us. Police cars surged forward, lights flashing. The black cars swerved, trying to escape, but the police boxed them in. For a moment, I was too stunned to process it. Daniel smiled grimly. "The journalist, they tipped off law enforcement. We're not alone anymore." The police pulled us over too, but instead of threats, they offered protection. Officers examined the duffel, their faces darkening as they flipped through the evidence. By evening, we were sitting in a safe house, the kids finally asleep, while agents and reporters swarmed around the documents. It wasn't over. My parents would fight, deny, twist the truth. But the evidence was too strong, the scandal too big. Days later, the headlines exploded. "Prominent family exposed in international money laundering scheme." My parents' faces were plastered across every screen. Their empire crumbled overnight. For me, the victory was bittersweet. They had chosen greed over family. I had chosen my children. Standing in the safe house window, I watched the sunrise. Daniel wrapped his arms around me, his voice warm against my ear. "We did it," he whispered. I nodded, tears in my eyes. "We survived." Behind us, Lucy stirred and mumbled in her sleep. Ben curled tighter into his blanket. They were safe. That was all that mattered. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Not from danger that might come again, but from the chains my parents had wrapped around me since birth. I had broken them. For myself. For my children. For the family I chose. And no one, not even the people who gave me life, would ever take that away again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more thrilling stories.